My coworker blackmailed me with old videos. I found something worse on him. Posted to r/true off my chest. I've been sitting on this story for almost 8 months now, and my therapist finally suggested I write it all down. She says it might help with the processing. Maybe she's right. Maybe I just need strangers on the internet to tell me whether I'm the villain in my own story. Either way, here it is, the complete, unfiltered account of how I lost my job, my professional reputation, and about 6 months of my mental health to a workplace blackmail situation that spiraled completely out of control. For context, I'm a 29-year-old data scientist. Was, I guess, at that company. I worked at a mid-sized fintech firm for 3 years before everything imploded. I was good at my job, not to brag, but I'd built several models that actually moved the needle on revenue. I had a solid relationship with my manager, decent rapport with leadership, and genuine friendships with a few colleagues. I thought I was safe there. Stable. Building toward something. I was wrong. The message. It started on a Thursday afternoon in March. I remember the day because we just pushed a major update to our fraud detection system, and I was riding high on the success. My Slack notification pinged, and I saw a DM from my coworker, a guy who joined the team about 8 months prior. We weren't close. He sat 3 desks over, handled a different product vertical, and we'd maybe exchanged 50 words total outside of stand-up meetings. The message was simple. Hey, got a minute? Found something interesting about you online. Come to the break room. My stomach didn't drop immediately. I figured maybe he'd found my LinkedIn, seen something about a shared connection, wanted to network. Normal stuff. I grabbed my coffee mug and headed over. He was already there, sitting at the corner table, phone in hand. The smile on his face wasn't friendly. It was the smile of someone holding cards they know you can't beat. So, he said, sliding the phone across the table. I didn't know you were internet famous. I looked at the screen, and my entire body went cold. What he found. Let me explain something that most people don't realize about the internet. Nothing ever truly disappears. You can delete posts, scrub accounts, change usernames, but somewhere, cached on some server, archived on the Wayback Machine, screenshot and shared to a forum, your past is waiting. In my case, the past was from 2019. During a particularly rough period after a bad breakup, I'd made a series of, let's call them ill-advised video posts on a platform that was popular at the time. Not anything illegal. Not explicit, exactly. But deeply, profoundly embarrassing. The videos were essentially drunk rants about my ex crying. Ranting about how I'd been wronged. Some truly pathetic attempts at poetry that I'd composed at 2 a.m. after too much whiskey. In one of them, the one my coworker had found, I'd specifically mentioned my workplace by name, my previous job, and made some comments about how corporate drones don't understand real emotion and how I was too intelligent to be understood by normal people. It was the kind of content that makes you physically cringe to remember. The kind that, if surfaced to your current employer, wouldn't get you fired but would absolutely destroy your professional reputation. The kind that makes people question your judgment, your stability, your maturity. The videos had gone mildly viral at the time, nothing huge, but enough that they'd been reposted to cringe compilation accounts. Enough that someone digging through my digital footprint with the right search terms could find them. My coworker had found them. This is gold, he said, scrolling through the comments on the repost. Your face, your voice, your name. I mean, you literally say your full name in the second video. And the poetry part? God, man. My heart is a database with no backup. That's incredible. I wanted to disappear. To sink through the floor. I felt like I was 22 again, drunk and sobbing into my phone, not realizing I was creating ammunition that would be used against me 7 years later. What do you want? I asked. His smile widened. Let's talk about that. The demands. Here's what my coworker wanted, initially. He'd been struggling with his workload. The quarterly performance reviews were coming up, and he was behind on a major project, a predictive model that was supposed to launch in 6 weeks. He needed help. Specifically, he needed me to help him write the code, refine the model, and basically do about 60% of his job while he took the credit. It's not a big deal, he said, as if he were asking to borrow a stapler. You're faster than me at this stuff anyway. I'll owe you one. I should have said no. I should have gone to HR from day one. Instead, I let fear control me. I let the thought of those videos being sent to my manager, to the executive team, to the company's LinkedIn page, paralyze my judgment. Fine, I said. But this is a one-time thing. He laughed. Sure, man. One time. Update 1. The escalation, April-May. It was not a one-time thing. Over the next 8 weeks, my coworker's demands grew like a tumor. First, it was just the model, which I finished in 2 weeks, working nights and weekends while he claimed credit in stand-ups. Then it was covering for him when he came in late, which became covering for him when he didn't come in at all. Then it was writing his reports, attending his meetings on his behalf, and sending emails from his account to make it look like he was engaged when he was doing God knows what. The worst part? He wanted me to recommend him for a promotion. The senior role is opening up in Q3, he told me in late April. I need your endorsement. You're respected around here. If you tell the manager I'd be perfect for it, it carries weight. I'm not going to lie for you, I said. You're already lying for me. Every day. What's one more? He wasn't wrong, and that truth cut deeper than anything else. I'd spent weeks doing his work, covering his absences, and building a fiction that painted him as a competent professional. I'd already compromised myself. What was one more brick on the pile? I wrote the endorsement email. My manager called me later that week, pleased. Good to see you supporting the team, she said. Your coworker's been stepping up lately. Nice to know he has your vote of confidence. I wanted to scream. The breaking point. The breaking point came in early June when my coworker approached me with a new request. He wanted me to take the fall for a data error that had cost the company roughly $15,000 in misallocated marketing spend. The error was his, a simple miscalculation in a targeting model that I tried to catch during our handoff but had slipped through. When leadership traced the mistake to his code, he panicked. You need to tell them it was your model, he said. Just say you were helping me and made the change without telling me. It's minor, you'll get a talking to, maybe a note in your file, but nothing serious. Meanwhile, I'm already on thin ice. This could actually get me fired. I stared at him. You want me to take a formal reprimand for your mistake? It's not a big deal. It is a big deal. I finally snapped. I've done everything you've asked. I've written your code, covered your shifts, lied to my manager's face, and recommended you for a promotion you don't deserve. And now you want me to damage my own performance record to save you. He leaned closer, his voice dropping. You know what happens if you don't. That night, I went home and sat in the dark for 3 hours. I thought about quitting. I thought about just letting him release the videos, facing the embarrassment head-on, accepting whatever professional damage came with it. I thought about a lot of things. And then I thought about something else. If my coworker was willing to spend this much effort avoiding work, what else was he avoiding? What else was he hiding? I decided to find out. Update 2. The investigation, June. Let me be clear about something. I'm not proud of what I did next. Looking back, I became exactly what I hated. Someone who digs up dirt on others, who weaponizes information, who plays dirty when they feel cornered. My therapist has a lot of thoughts about this. So do I, at 3 a.m. when I can't sleep. But I did it anyway. I started simple, social media stalking, basically. My coworker kept his profiles relatively locked down, but not perfectly. His Instagram was private, but his girlfriend's wasn't, and through her posts I began piecing together a picture of his life that didn't match what he'd told the company. During his interview, he'd claimed extensive experience at a well-known tech company. 2 years as a data analyst, with glowing responsibilities. It was one of the main reasons he'd been hired. But his girlfriend's Instagram told a different story. Photos from that time period showed him working at what appeared to be a retail job. Vacation photos from dates when he claimed to be heads down on a major project. Nothing definitive, but enough to raise questions. I dug deeper. I should have gone to HR from day one. Instead, I let fear control me. But now I was letting anger control me instead, and I'm not sure which was worse. Using some data analysis techniques I'm not going to detail here, let's just say I'm good at finding patterns in public records. I discovered several concerning things. First, his credentials were partially fabricated. The tech company he'd claimed to work for had no record of him. I confirmed this through a contact who worked in their HR department. He'd worked at a company with a similar name in a completely different industry, and had apparently banked on no one checking the details. Second, and this is the part that really got my attention, he was running a side business during work hours. A pretty significant one. Through some corporate registration lookups and transaction patterns I noticed when I had access to certain systems, I found evidence that he was operating a consulting firm that was directly competing with some of our company's clients. He was literally using work time and, in some cases, work resources to build a competing business. This wasn't embarrassing content from a bad breakup. This was fraud. This was a fireable offense that would follow him to every future job. This was, potentially, something that could involve lawyers. And I had proof. Update 3. The confrontation, late June. I didn't go to HR right away. I know that sounds stupid now, But at the time, I had this fantasy of mutually assured destruction, of walking up to my coworker, showing him what I'd found, and ending the whole nightmare with a simple agreement. You forget about my videos, I forget about your fraud, and we both pretend the last 3 months never happened. I was naive. Or maybe just desperate to avoid the nuclear option. I caught him in the parking garage after work on a Tuesday. He was walking to his car, phone in hand, probably texting one of his consulting clients. We need to talk, I said. He looked up, that familiar smug expression already forming. About what? The data error? I'm still waiting for you to. About Vertex Consulting, I said. About the fake work history. About the 12 hours a week you spend on your side business while billing the company for your time. His face went through about 6 emotions in 2 seconds. Confusion, recognition, fear, anger, calculation, and finally a kind of forced calm that didn't reach his eyes. I don't know what you're talking about. I have documentation. Corporate filings. Transaction records. Screenshots of your LinkedIn activity showing client meetings during times you were supposedly in our stand-ups. I have everything. There was a long pause. Cars passed us in the garage. Someone's alarm beeped 2 rows over. So what? He finally said. We both have dirt. You release yours, I release mine. Mutually assured destruction, right? Except here's the thing, your videos make you look pathetic. My stuff makes me look like a criminal. The asymmetry doesn't work in my favor. I'm not here to threaten you, I said, though that wasn't entirely true. I'm here to propose a truce. You delete everything you have on me. I delete everything I have on you. We go back to being coworkers who don't talk, and in a year, one of us transfers to a different team or finds a new job, and this all becomes ancient history. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he laughed, not a genuine laugh, but something bitter and tired. You know I'm in debt, right? He said. Like real debt. The kind that follows you. The kind that makes you desperate enough to leverage embarrassing videos against a coworker because you need to keep a job you're not qualified for. I didn't say anything. The consulting thing, that was supposed to be my exit strategy. Build up clients, make enough money to pay off the worst of it, then leave this place and actually do something with my life. But it's not working. Nothing's working. And now you have me by the throat, just like I had you. For a moment, just a moment, I felt something like sympathy. We weren't so different, really. Both of us cornered. Both of us making terrible choices because we couldn't see any other way out. So what do we do? I asked. He shook his head. I don't know, man. I genuinely don't know. Update 4. HR gets involved, July. The truce lasted exactly 11 days. I don't know what changed. Maybe his debt situation got worse. Maybe one of his consulting clients fell through. Maybe he just decided that offense was better than defense. But on a Wednesday morning, I walked into the office to find my manager waiting at my desk with a printed screenshot of one of my videos. We need to talk, she said. In the conference room. Now. My coworker had sent everything to HR, my manager, and 2 members of the executive team. The videos. Transcripts of my drunken rants. A detailed timeline arguing that my emotional instability made me a liability to the team. The meeting was brutal. My manager looked disappointed, not angry, just genuinely let down. HR was professional but cold. The executives had clearly already made up their minds about what kind of person I was. I should have just taken it. Apologized, accepted whatever consequences came, and moved on with my dignity mostly intact. Instead, I did what I'd promised myself I wouldn't do. I went nuclear. Before you make any decisions, I said, my voice steadier than I felt, you should know that the person who sent you this material has been committing fraud against the company for the past year. The room went very quiet. I laid it all out. The fabricated work history. The competing consulting business. The hours of work time spent on personal clients. The misuse of company resources. I'd brought copies of everything. Corporate filings, time-stamped LinkedIn activity, the works. I have documentation for all of this, I said. I wasn't planning to bring it forward because I wanted to handle this privately. But since we're apparently doing this the hard way. My manager's expression shifted from disappointment to something more complicated. HR immediately requested a recess to investigate the new information. The investigation took 3 weeks. During that time, I was placed on administrative leave. So was my coworker. We were both told not to contact each other, which was fine by me. I never wanted to see his face again. In the end, HR's findings were clear. My coworker had committed multiple terminable offenses, including credential fraud, conflict of interest, and theft of company time. He was fired immediately, with the possibility of legal action pending review by corporate counsel. As for me, well, my videos weren't illegal. They weren't even technically against company policy. But the way I'd handled the situation, the months of covering for someone else's work, the false endorsement email, the failure to report harassment, all of that created what HR called a pattern of judgment concerns. I was given a choice: resign with a neutral reference, or be fired for cause with documentation that would follow me. I resigned. Update 5. The aftermath, August present. I won, I guess. But it didn't feel like winning. My coworker was gone, fired, potentially facing legal consequences, his professional reputation destroyed. Everything he'd built with his side consulting business collapsed when word got around about why he'd been terminated. Last I heard through the grapevine, he'd moved back in with his parents and was working retail again. I try not to think about it too much, but sometimes I do. I think about what he said in that parking garage, about the debt, the desperation, the feeling of being trapped with no good options. I'm not excusing what he did. Blackmail is blackmail. But I understand, a little bit, how someone can make terrible choices when they feel like they're drowning. That doesn't make it okay. It just makes it human. As for me, I spent 3 months unemployed. Not because I couldn't find work, my skills were still valuable, but because I was paralyzed by anxiety about what potential employers might find if they dug deep enough. I scrubbed every social media account I could find. I hired a service to try to get the cached videos removed from various archives. I spent hours searching my own name, looking for anything else that might surface. My therapist says I'm still processing the betrayal. She's probably right. Some days I'm fine, functional, even optimistic about the future. Other days I wake up at 4 a.m. convinced that some hiring manager is going to find those videos and send them to everyone I've ever worked with. The new job is good. Better than good, actually. It's a remote position with a company that values results over office politics, and they didn't seem to care much about the gap in my employment history. My new manager is supportive. My coworkers are collaborative rather than competitive. I'm making more money than I was before. But here's the thing nobody tells you about winning. The victory doesn't erase the scars. I still flinch when I get a Slack notification from someone I don't know well. I still feel a knot in my stomach when anyone mentions social media. I still catch myself rehearsing explanations for things that happened years ago, just in case someone asks. The company where everything went down has mostly moved on. I'm a cautionary tale now, probably, the guy who got caught up in something messy and didn't handle it well. My old manager hasn't reached out. Neither have most of my former colleagues. The friendships I thought I'd built there evaporated the moment I became inconvenient. That's the part that hurts most, if I'm being honest. Not the videos, not the blackmail, not even the months of anxiety. It's realizing how fragile professional relationships really are. How quickly people can decide you're not worth the trouble. Final reflections. So here I am, 8 months later, writing this all down because my therapist thinks it might help. And maybe it has. Maybe putting the story into words makes it feel more like something that happened to me rather than something I'm still living through. A few things I've learned, for what it's worth. If someone tries to blackmail you, go to HR immediately. I know it's scary. I know you think you can handle it yourself. You can't. The longer you wait, the more compromised you become, and the harder it is to explain why you didn't come forward sooner. I should have reported my coworker the day he approached me. Instead, I spent months doing his work, lying to my manager, and digging up dirt that I eventually used as a weapon. None of that was necessary. All of it made everything worse. Your digital past is permanent. I don't care how many accounts you delete or how many services you hire, something is always out there. Maybe that's fine. Maybe we all need to accept that everyone has embarrassing moments, cringy phases, things they'd rather forget. But in the professional world, that acceptance hasn't caught up to reality yet. People still judge. They still make assumptions. They still decide you're too risky to hire based on something you posted when you were 22 and heartbroken. Desperation makes people dangerous. My coworker wasn't evil. He was broke, scared, and in over his head. That's not an excuse. Again, blackmail is blackmail, but it's a reminder that the people who hurt you are usually hurting too. Understanding that doesn't make the hurt go away. It just makes it more complicated. Victory can feel a lot like defeat. My coworker lost everything. His job, his side business, his professional reputation, possibly his freedom if the legal situation escalates. By any objective measure, I won. He's gone, and I'm still here. But I'm also scarred. I'm also paranoid. I'm also carrying the weight of knowing that I became someone I didn't want to be, someone who digs through public records looking for ammunition, someone who weaponizes information when they feel threatened, someone who chose mutually assured destruction over simply walking away. Maybe there was a version of this story where I did everything right. Where I reported the blackmail immediately, HR handled it cleanly, and I kept my job without any of the mess that followed. Maybe in that version, I'm still working at that company, still building models, still having lunch with colleagues who actually know me. But that's not the version I'm living in. This version is messier. More painful. Full of moments I wish I could take back and lessons I wish I'd learned earlier. This version is real. Epilogue. Where I am now. It's been 8 months since I cleaned out my desk. 6 months since I started therapy. 4 months since I started the new job. 2 months since I last had a panic attack about what might be lurking in my digital past. I'm getting better. Slowly. The new job helps. It's proof that one bad chapter doesn't have to define your entire career. The therapy helps too, even when it forces me to confront things I'd rather avoid. I still think about my former coworker sometimes. I wonder if he's doing okay. I wonder if he blames me for what happened, even though he's the one who started it. I wonder if, in another life, we could have been friends, two guys struggling with pressure and making bad choices, maybe helping each other instead of destroying each other. But we don't live in that life. We live in this one, where choices have consequences and actions have reactions, and sometimes the only way out of a bad situation is through something worse. I won, I guess. But it didn't feel like winning. It still doesn't. If you made it this far, thanks for reading. I don't know what I'm looking for exactly. Validation, criticism, commiseration, I don't know. Maybe just the feeling of being heard. Take care of yourselves out there. Protect your digital footprint. And if someone ever tries to leverage your past against you, please, don't make the mistakes I made. Go to HR. Get it documented. Let the professionals handle it. Trust me. The alternative is worse. Edit. A lot of people are asking if I do anything differently. Honestly, everything. I do everything differently. But that's the thing about hindsight, it's perfect and completely useless. Edit 2. To the people saying I should have just owned my past and let the videos come out, you're probably right. In retrospect, the shame I felt was disproportionate to the actual content. They were embarrassing, sure. But they weren't career-ending on their own. What ended my career at that company was everything I did after trying to hide them. The fear was worse than the reality would have been. Edit 3. No, I'm not going to share the videos. That chapter is closed. Please stop asking. Here's what I learned from losing my job to a blackmail situation I could have ended on day 1. Fear is a worse advisor than embarrassment ever could be. I spent 3 months doing someone else's work, lying to people who trusted me, and slowly becoming the kind of person I'd always judged. And for what? To protect myself from videos that, honestly, would have made people cringe for a week and then forget. The real damage wasn't those drunk rants from 2019. The real damage was everything I did trying to hide them and why coworker was desperate. Drowning in debt, faking credentials, building a side business on stolen time because he couldn't see any other way out. I'm not excusing what he did. Blackmail is blackmail. But I understand it now in a way I couldn't before. Desperate people do desperate things. And when two desperate people collide, nobody wins. We just both lose in different ways. If someone ever holds your past over your head, here's what I wish I'd known. The shame you feel is almost always bigger than the reality. The thing you're terrified of people seeing? Most of them will look, shrug, and move on. It's not the skeleton in your closet that destroys you. It's what you're willing to do to keep that closet locked. I won, technically. My coworker lost his job, his business, maybe his freedom. I found a better position with better people. On paper, I came out ahead. But I also spent 6 months in therapy. I still flinch at Slack notifications. I still wake up sometimes convinced that someone, somewhere, is digging through my past looking for ammunition. Victory and trauma can live in the same house. I know that now. One more thing. The professional relationships I thought were real, the colleagues I'd grab lunch with, the manager who praised my work, they all disappeared the moment I became inconvenient. That's not bitterness talking. That's just reality. Most work friendships are situationships. When the situation changes, so do they. Protect your digital footprint if you can. But more importantly, protect your integrity. Because the version of yourself you become while hiding is usually worse than whatever you were hiding from. I learned that the hard way. I'm still learning it.